Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and as I've said all week, it is a struggle at this point of the season. We don't have too much to talk about, but we are quickly approaching what will be transfer season, which means it's probably time to start talking about where Celtic can improve on the current squad, the Championship winning squad, the Premiership winning squad, the champions of Scotland. It has been a fantastic team to watch, but there's always a way and a means to get better, and there's always a way you can improve, and there's certainly areas in this Celtic side where we can add strength and depth. So today we're going to look over a few areas in which I think Celtic can improve on. So obviously the other day we sat down and we discussed the Celtic squad tier list. If you haven't watched that video, it is on the channel. You can go and check that out. We looked over the current squad just now, and we looked at, who's undoubtedly going to stay at the team, but who also might leave the team, the current kind of landscape of the Celtic squad today as we know it. And it kind of opened eyes as to how big an exodus there could potentially be, and what I would say is maybe deadwood at the club. There's a lot of players who have probably ran their time up at the club and will probably look on to bigger and I would say better, but how better can it get in Celtic at the moment? But, other ventures, you know what I mean? So, it's going to be interesting to see that aspect of things, but Celtic also have a duty, a responsibility to improve on what we've done, and by doing so, we'll have a busy transfer window ahead of us. We're not in the position we were last year when there was a complete and utter rebuild to go through. We had to make umpteen signings and improve on every single area, but we're certainly still in a position now, I think, where we can build on certain areas to make the team stronger throughout a campaign that is going to be really testing of us, and both regaining our league title, but also on a European front. So there's definitely room for Celtic to improve, and I think that's one thing that Ange Postecoglou, by saying we'll be bigger and better, will want to do this transfer window. And before we go any further with this video, please make sure to go down below and hit the subscribe button. I think we're about 3 away from 34,000 as of recording. We might hit it by the time this video's up, but make sure to go down, hit that, and hit the like button as well. It's very important for the growth of the channel, and it's absolutely free. It's early days yet, we're not even out of May yet, we're not even a full week on from lifting the Premiership title. It's time to kind of bask in that and enjoy the celebrations and being champions of Scotland, but the hard work will begin soon, and we have a season which kicks off a little bit earlier because of the World Cup situation in December, so we need to get our affairs in order. I think the one luxury we've been given this year is that we don't need to play European qualifiers, so we don't need to worry about having things assembled by then, but we're also in a very fortunate position where, we have a squad that is ready, a squad that is good enough to take on the opening day fixtures of the league, because of how strong we are at the moment. We ended the season in some fantastic form. In fact, the whole season, you could say, was basically fantastic form from October onwards. So we're in a really good position. If we were to go out and sign Vickers and Jota, for example, then, we've got a team that's more than good enough, but there's certainly areas we can improve in and we can build on to make this squad even better and hopefully unstoppable, especially in domestic football. It's important for many reasons, and as I've touched on, we've got the Champions League this season, in which we don't want to be embarrassed in, and I don't feel like we're in a position we will be embarrassed in. It depends, of course, who you draw in those groups, and that was something else we touched on yesterday, but it's a competition you want to go in to impress and do better than what we have in previous years, and it's also one that, we can try and bridge the gap between other teams, and by doing so you need to build on the team you've got. Then of course we want to stay ahead of Rangers, we want to be winning league titles convincingly, and we want to be dominating Scotland, we want to be winning all trophies available, but ultimately I think the main thing is we just need to improve our depth. We have good depth in certain areas, but this is a team who we've seen over the course of the year play a very demanding style of football, and by that I mean it's a team that can pick up injuries. We've seen that, and there was times where we kind of got unfortunate in certain areas of the park because we dropped players. And we were lucky over the course of the season that so many people stepped up. But what happens when bad luck comes our way? I feel like we need depth to prepare for that. So it's very important that we go out there and we improve in certain areas, so that when the time comes, if a player does drop off of an injury, or you're in an unfortunate position where, your two strikers are injured or whatnot, we're not having to do... Remember when we had Lewis Morgan playing up front in a cup final? You don't want to be in that sort of position again. That's just nightmarish. So there's definitely areas I think we can build on, and let's have a look over that. One thing I will say is I think that us as supporters this season are pretty we're all in the same boat as to where we think we need improvement. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty black and white as to what sort of areas? Wow, Ryan, there's a scheme coming out, son. What sort of areas that we need to improve in. I think that we all really see the same sort of issues at the moment. So what I say might not come as a surprise to many people, but yeah, let's look over it anyway. So let's start at the back and we'll make our way up the park. And the first key area I think we need to add depth in is the left back position. A position which has needed more reinforcement for a number of years now. I think we all thought that we kind of done it that season. We signed Greg Taylor and Bolingoli in the same window after Kieran Tierney left the club. But we're still in a position now where we need depth. We need people who can play there. Greg Taylor has had a fantastic second half of the season, and there is no doubt about it. If he continues playing at the form that he's been in, he's good enough to keep that spot. However, we can aim to do better. I think there is better options out there than Greg Taylor. And I'm not saying we completely disregard him from the team and just throw away the good work that he's done. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But, there is probably players out there who can come in and maybe do a job for us. And as well as that, Bolingoli will probably leave the club. Liam Scales doesn't look too favoured by the manager. So we need more than just Greg Taylor anyway. We need to build on that and add in another quality left back to the squad. I think I would like someone who brings the same sort of attributes as Juranovic does on that right hand side, and I think that Taylor is certainly getting there. I think we've seen those improvements in his game, but ultimately you can see the difference between two players. I think Juranovic is established as that quality of fullback on the right hand side, whereas Taylor's maybe just lacking a little bit of the same qualities, and that's not a bad thing because he's certainly working towards it. But we can bring in someone just to kind of add more flair and add just more quality to that area of the park. Of course, we were linked with the Iranian international Mohamed Jaiza, was it? We were linked with him from Hammarby, and that looks like it could be an option for Celtic, and that would be great. He's had a fantastic season over there. Looks like the sort of left back that Ange Postecoglou would enjoy. But even if it's not him, I think that we will explore routes that brings in a player who is suited to this system and gives us those qualities that Juranovic brings on the right-hand side. I would like us to be in a position where we can look past Taylor and say, okay, there's options there for us if we need them. Because right now there's really not, and I've not got a problem with Scales, and I don't dislike him necessarily, but I definitely understand that he's not up to the standards that I think the manager wants at the minute and what we need at the minute. You can't exactly throw Scales in to a Champions League match at the moment that could be of high significance. I think you need someone else there. And if that happens to be Jaiza, or if it happens to be anyone else, then I think it's certainly an option that Celtic will explore and needs to explore, just to improve the quality of our 11. The second area of the squad I think we need to improve on is kind of the defensive midfielder role. A player that can come in and maybe be a bit more of a general in front of the back line. Now, of course, we've got it so lucky right now with Callum McGregor playing in that position. I don't think that he is going to shift from that area, but in situations where McGregor can't play or McGregor has to be moved further up the park, or maybe we just need somebody more defensive to come on and kind of see out a game. We don't have many options now. Now, Ideguchi is a sort of unknown quantity. He could be someone that does that role pretty well, and I'm hoping that he does, and that might kind of nullify the desperate need for a defensive midfielder. Beaton has left the club, so his role in maybe doing that is now gone. And James McCarthy, quite frankly, isn't really a reliable player to turn to. So I think we need someone else in there to kind of fill the shoes of Nir Beaton, but do it better than Nir Beaton. I have the utmost respect for Beaton and his services to the club that he gave over the past 9 years, but we certainly knew over certain periods of time that he could be seen as a liability. So now we've got a position, I think, where someone comes in, takes the role that maybe Nir Beaton had as that utility defensive midfielder, but can do it better and can do it more reliably. So I'm hoping that we're out in the market looking for one, but you look at the depth, as I said, you've got behind McGregor, Ideguchi and McCarthy, both players haven't had a real crack at Celtic right now. And I don't think McCarthy, for example, will get many more of them. I just don't think he's up to the standards that the manager wants or needs right now. I think he is a sort of behind the scenes, once in a blue moon sort of player. So I would love us to bring someone in. It's especially when you think about those Champions League nights and you think about the possibility of us maybe winning or drawing against a big club and we're about to get a magic result. and we just need to kind of tighten up a little bit. We need to be a bit more defensive, and I know the manager doesn't really like to sacrifice his style of football, and I could really see us pushing for a win in those scenarios. But if there's something that we desperately need to hold on to and our backs are against the wall, I would like us to be able to turn to the bench and go, okay, let's bring in a little bit more defensive stability, someone to sit in front of that back line and command things a little bit. There's certainly players out there that I think we can get. And I think a wee bit of a physical presence would be nice. Our midfield, we have McGregor, we have Hatate, Rogic is now left, we have O'Reilly. We have a lot of guys who are really good technically, but they aren't physical players. So I would like someone to come in that maybe brings that more physical side of the game there. A real Roy Keane of a player. And finally, I think the last sort of area that I would like to see us improve in and add depth to is that right wing. Now, I think we've been incredibly lucky over the past year with the right wing, because we had Abada, who in the first half of the season broke onto the scene brilliantly and played incredibly well and contributed massively to a title-winning team. And then in the second half of the season, you had Jota moved out to the right and done a great job there. But I would like us to, if we don't, the horrible situation in Touchwood, if we don't sign Jota, we certainly need to look for another option there. But natural right wingers, I think it's important that we have them. Jota has done a good job there, but he is a more left-sided player. I'd like to see him return to the left at some point. Difficult when you've got Maida also playing really, really well. But I would like someone like that. We've been linked and we've spoke about Solbakken, and it looks as though he might go to Roma anyway, so that might not happen. But, bringing in a player like him, I think would be magic. And I said it at the time when we were linked with Solbakken, even if we sign Jota, I still want him, because it's so much quality that we can have to rotate in amongst that front three. And you look at how we worked last season in that front three. We were brilliant at kind of chopping and changing and bringing other players in, Giakoumakis and Kyogo, and then Jota and Maida on the left, and Abada and Jota on the right. We could change it up and we wouldn't really lose much. And I'm hoping that can continue, but we do that by adding more depth. And think how scary we could be with another right winger in this team, because I think James Forrest is dropped right. I know he signed a contract, but he's dropped off in quality. I don't think he's almost as reliable as he once was. So I would like to see a strength in that area, and there's a lot of good wingers out there that would suit Ange Postecoglou's system. I think it's just a matter of identifying one who can come in, understand the role, that they might not play every single game because of the quality we have, but someone that's willing to fight for a chance and gives us a game-changing option when presented the opportunity. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Ryan, where's the options? Who are we talking about here? Who are we signing, Ryan? I'm not a scout. At the end of the day, I wish I was. I wish I had the ability to go out and watch all these different leagues and identify options. I know a lot of the analyst sort of people are brilliant at that, and that's their thing, but it's certainly not mine. And I would need to do weeks of preparation before I sat down on this channel and went, okay, there's your options there. We should look at these guys. So maybe in a couple of weeks I could do that. But in terms of today, I think we know where we're looking in terms of left backs. We know we're looking at Solbakken in terms of right wingers, but there's plenty of options out there, and you look at how we've exploited different markets. You look at the Japanese market that we've done really well in. You look at now we're touching into Iranian internationals. Ange has got that sort of extensive knowledge, and his background team will have that extensive knowledge of European and out with Europe's football to bring in good players. So I trust in them to make good decisions, but those are certainly 3 areas that I'd like to see us improve in. And then also, I think there's just room for improving. We don't stop there. There's no point in just signing in 3 areas and then going, that's it. If we've got the money and we're willing to make smart signings, not pointless signings, smart signings, then we can improve on many different areas. Just very quickly, if Julian ends up leaving the club, I think there's room to maybe bring in another centre-half in case, Vickers, Starfelt go out injured. I know we've got Stevie Welsh, but he's really the only first-team option we have beyond Julian at the moment, who probably will leave. Maybe try for more forward options. Add in another striker if we can. Sign smart, but let's build the best team possible to continue our domination of this country. And that does it. That will do us for today. A longer one than I anticipated talking in this video, but it's going to be a very interesting transfer window to say the least. Postecoglou has already said he knows where he needs to improve and he knows where his targets lie. So we'll be reporting on that as it breaks, and I'll have as many videos, as many Celtic transfer talk videos over the summer as I potentially can, but it'll be exciting to say the least. Save the swear word for right at the end. Lovely. Right, that'll do us. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.